secondary education does. It expects one correct answer. In other words, the teacher tells you what's important. They expect you to memorize it, and then I will ask it in a question, in a test, and you will give me the answer back. So it also has very close supervision. In other words, you sit in a class, the teacher watches over you, you go to another class, there's another teacher. The teacher decides what you should study, what you should read, what the questions are going to be. So it's very much a teacher-managed educational system. And there's nothing wrong with that. People need to have that kind of education, and it happens all over the world. But when you get to the university, instead of a passive learning, we expect you to do independent learning. We expect the students are going to go and find their own interests, do their own research, study the topics they're interested in. Not entirely, of course, but it's much more independent learning. Instead of valuing memorizing facts, we in the university, we value creativity and creative inquiries. We like to hear people ask the questions. Why is this? How does this work? Why do we do it this way? All those kind of things. We want to challenge the status quo and to come up with new ideas. Instead of expecting just one correct answer, we then will accept answers, but it has to be based on valid evidence. It might be something new that even your professors haven't thought of, but it has to be based on evidence. So you have to be able to go out and find that, okay? Instead of a close supervision, it requires you to have self-discipline. It expects you to motivate yourself to get up in the morning, to do the research from morning till evening. And in the classes, we expect you to be self-disciplined, okay? And while the teacher has a role to play, the student is much more involved in directing what they study and how they study it and what they're going to do their research in. Okay, so there's a number of differences that when you go from secondary education into a university setting, there's a lot of changes, and they expect a lot more of a person. You've got to be a lot more mature, a lot more independent. So what do we teach? What would you study if you came to NUFYP? Well, you'd study quite a bit of English for academic purposes, okay? Now, our EAP, our English, has been accredited by BALIP. That's the British Association of Lecturers in English for Academic Purposes. So the English that we're going to give you is not just ordinary English. It's a program that meets the standards of good foundation programs in the UK. So you will be able to compete at the end of our program. You could compete with anybody who's gone to a number of universities in the UK and gone through their foundation program. We do things a little bit differently, but it's accredited. It shows that we have that quality. So what that means is you could come to NUFYP and go through our program and be prepared to study anywhere in the world in English, whether it's in Denmark or it's in Hungary, or it's in Hong Kong, or it's in Korea, wherever it would be done in English, you are ready to do it. So we teach English for academic purposes. We also teach mathematics, and I'll talk a little bit more about mathematics and its importance a little bit later. We also teach a leadership and academic skills course. This is a relatively new course, and we found that there's a need for it, and we are very excited about what it will do for the students. We're going to talk in this course about successful study methods so that you will know how to study when you're in the university. It's interesting to think about, but a lot of smart kids really don't know how to study because they've just been able to pick it up in the class. But when you get to a university, it's going to be harder. And if you don't know how to study, it will make it harder even if you are smart. So it's good to know successful study methods. We'll also talk about the university and different keys and helps that will help you get through the university and enjoy it. And we develop, because there's leadership involved, there's personal attributes and development. You'll learn a number of character traits that the university wants to make sure that you know before you graduate. And this course will also touch on career skills and what you need in order to be successful after the university. University studies so much is about a subject or something like that, and they don't get to how do you put it into practice? How do you use it as a career? And this course will set that out for you. Just another word about academic English. People will say, well, I've got, 6.5, I've got 7.0 in IELTS. That doesn't necessarily mean you'll be successful using academic English. It's university English and how it is used in writing and in speaking and professionally. So it's more than just a good IELTS score. Mathematics has been shown to be a primary indicator of university success. So we want to make sure that you are ready with at least the very minimum knowledge of mathematics that you will need, okay? And the leadership, as I talked about, it gives you qualities for life. It gives you academic expertise, talks about career skills. So this course helps set you on success, both in the university and in your career in life. So how do we do this? How does NUFYP build university success? Well, remember, the university wants independent learning. What we do in NUFYP is we give you a research project, but we help guide you through it. So there's independence on your part, but you can get support when you need it. So it's something that you wouldn't necessarily get at the university level, but we help you to guide you through that so that you're ready when you're totally on your own. I talked about that it values creativity. So we give you multidisciplinary problems. We ask you to do project presentations so you have a chance to express your creativity and to practice your creativity. We give you some tools, we give you ideas, but we let you go and try it out. I mentioned that it requires self-discipline. So we help you train the study habits. We give you ideas about how to develop good study habits and time management. And then we let you practice with those. And maybe you don't get it 100% the first time. We encourage you to do better the next time. So there's an opportunity to make mistakes and to learn from your mistakes. Communications is very important, not only in the university, not only for research, but also very much in careers. It's one of the components that every business talks about. You have to have good communication skills. So we help you with that, not only in the writing, but also there's seminar discussions. So small group discussions. We'll have debates, and you get to do research and express your opinions about your research. So all of that builds your communication skills. It's student directed. So we give you group student projects. You have to develop as a leader to take over the group and to develop that. You also have to learn how to be a follower so that if somebody else is the group leader, you will be able to do your part to make a successful group. We have tutorials with your teacher, but the teacher is going to expect you to come with your questions and with your problems and your agenda. So it's student-led. So NUFYP is designed especially for Kazakhstani students. It's made with you in mind. It emphasizes adapting to university academics and to university life. It develops your personal growth. It develops responsibility and self-discipline and many others, and it introduces career skills to you. So what are the advantages? If you can't guess already by those, it guides you into making the right choices. It actually can save you time. I know a lot of people say, well, I don't want to spend a year in NUFYP. But the point is that it helps you make right choices, which can save you time. And you can find the major that you like and possibly avoid a 5th year because it's a 4-year program. You wouldn't have to spend a 5th year getting the last courses that you need in order to get the major that you wanted, but maybe didn't decide right away. NUFYP helps students gain university competencies. You learn study skills and you grow personally. It will improve your performance at the university. If you start at the 1st year and you haven't gone through NUFYP, you will probably make some mistakes and some of your grades will not be as strong as you would like. But NUFYP gives you a chance to learn those things, so when you get to the 1st year, you will do very well and have good grades from the very beginning. NUFYP gives students opportunities. You get a chance to be on student council. You have an opportunity to be a representation on faculty committees. It's an opportunity to make friends. You can join student clubs. I have a good friend who teaches in one of the schools, and she teaches the writing that you have to take when you get to the undergraduate studies. And she says in her first class, she always asks her students, who of you went to NUFYP? And they raise their hands, and then she tells the other students, look around, find somebody because they will help you. They know how to use the library. They know how to where things are. They know how, if you have a problem, what you can do about it, where to go. So it gives you an advantage coming in. You've already made friends. You already are comfortable. It's a great way to start the university. NUFYP offers more student support for handling academic and personal adjustments. If you do have, some issues, we have much more of a support system for you. We're smaller, the classes are smaller. You can talk to your tutor. We have an academic advisor that is ready and willing to be able to counsel or give advice. So there's much more support to get you started. If you're not quite ready, or if you're a little bit unsure, if you're coming from some small town in Kazakhstan and, Nur-Sultan is a little bit overwhelming and the big university is a little overwhelming, this is a good place to start because it'll set you on the right path. So let me just kind of identify who is it for. It's actually for students who are good students, but they need time to make decisions and to develop their skills. They might really be good, but they just need a little more time. It's also for students who are smart, but you haven't learned to fully apply themselves. And if they went to the university, they might fall behind because they didn't realize that they're falling behind. And then they get poor grades and all kinds of other troubles. It's for students who want to do their best at NU and probably aim for grad school in the future. This is where the money is. This is where prestige is. This is where students that come to NU, we expect about half of them to continue to grad school. And NUFYP is also for students who want to study abroad, but maybe need more skills before they'd be really ready to go there. You could study here, it'd be cheaper than going abroad and paying for the English there or a foundation program there, or maybe even just starting but not doing as well because you're not quite ready. NUFYP is for students whose parents want them to be successful in the university and in their careers. And so what it really does for you is that students can study close to home, right here in Kazakhstan, and you get an international setting. Most of your teachers are going to be international teachers. And so you can have that international experience, but you don't have to leave Kazakhstan to get it. I want to talk just briefly about some changes in the NUFYP entrance test. First of all, IELTS and IBT, that's the TOEFL, computer TOEFL, and Lingua skills will all be accepted. So for your English score, you can take any one of those three. The NU entrance test, the name has actually, we're making a different test and we're calling it the NU entrance test. It's still made of the two different components, mathematics and critical thinking and problem solving. But you can use it to apply to NUFYP and for direct entry. So if you're not sure you want to go to direct entry, you can take this and apply for either one with this score. You have to have a higher score for direct entry. You can also take this if you're saying, well, I can't take an SAT, the SAT test, or maybe it's very expensive. You don't have to. You can take the entrance test this coming year, and you can apply for direct entry with it. An important point here is that we are not going to give an IELTS test to people after the NU entrance test, okay? You'll have to have that taken and be ready with that before the entrance test. And so students will need to submit their own scores. There is no aptness screening test. There is no screening test. You have to get the score, either the IELTS, the IBT, or Lingua skill, and then you will be able to register and apply for it. Thank you for your attention. And are there any questions? I'm going to just go to the last slide, and you can look at that as we start the questions. I'll take it away in a little bit. Are there any questions that, I don't know, Julius, are there questions that have been written, or do we want to just take spoken questions?
Если у кого-то есть вопросы,
Если есть у кого-то вопросы, поднимите руки, мы будем давать аксесс для задачи вопроса. Айгерим, можете говорить?
Good evening, Mr.
Hi.
Robert. I have one question. Can you tell me about changes in NUFYP entrance test, especially in mathematics, because I have little bit problems at math, and I am on the process. So can you tell me new changes or about it? Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for the question. What I can tell you about it is that the test structure and the questions are very, very much the same as they have always been. What we're doing with it now is that Cambridge, who writes the test for us, Cambridge Assessment and Admissions Testing, who make the test, have determined a score. And so if you've got a higher score, you can apply for direct entry. If it's not as high, you can still apply for NUFYP. If you are high, you can still go to NUFYP. It's your choice, but you have the opportunity to go to direct. But check the website. There should be some specifications about the math and what questions are asked. Look at that. Check out any sample questions that they have there and go through those. But I think they list quite a few, 40 or so different topics that you should know. Okay. All right.
Ильдар, можете задать свой вопрос?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, I have a question.
Mhm.
After foundation, do we have any exams, or is it 100% sure that you will enter the university?
Okay, the way that works is that when you come into NUFYP, you'll take the classes that I talked about, English, mathematics, and this leadership class, and you'll be graded. You're graded on, you'll have a final exam in mathematics, you'll have a final exam in reading. There are other exams and quizzes. The leadership course has a different sort of model of assessment. So you'll take that and you'll get a grade for those courses. And at the end, those grades are put together. And if you have a high enough grade, you are guaranteed to go on to the university. If your grade is not quite high enough, you will be reconsidered, but it's not for sure that you would get in. But we really believe with the support that we give, if you come through taking the entrance exam and you do what you're told and you work hard at it, because it will take some work, it's not just an easy year, but if you do that, we believe that everybody we accept is able to finish and be successful and go to the university. So you should be able to get the grades and be guaranteed a position in the university. Most of the people, probably at least 80% of the people who do not progress, do one of a couple things. They don't attend class, they don't do their assignments, or they cheat. And when they cheat, they can be penalized and then their grades go down. So if you attend classes and if you work at what you're doing, listen to the directions and turn in your assignments, and you don't cheat, I can't guarantee, but almost guarantee that you will be successful and be able to continue at the university. Okay?
Thank you. So after the foundation, you can enter any school with
Right.
good marks.
Yeah, the marks have to be good, but they're not especially high. But the university wants the very best students. So they want to make sure that you can do well enough in NUFYP so that you will be able to continue and be successful at the university. So we're convinced that the people who come are capable of it. But like I say, the majority of people who do not make it is because of something that they don't do themselves. And it's usually attendance. In fact, I'm speaking with somebody tomorrow because he's not attending classes. And look, we're only 8 weeks into the semester, but he's going to fail. I know right now that he will probably fail because he's not going to class. So that's his decision and he's not working at it. So if you go to class, you do your assignments, you're almost 100% guaranteed to be successful. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Said Muhibila, can you talk?
Hello, Professor.
Hello.
Hello, I am Mohib. Basically, I am from Pakistan, and I'm living in Nazarbayev University. So, no, I'm living in Astana nowadays.
Okay.
So, my question is that if someone is weak or have no information or practice in maths, so is there any other way to secure scholarship or enter the NUFYP program? Because in Pakistan, after 10th class, we have not attended maths class because we have taken a program of humanities. So is there any other way without maths so that we can enter the NUFYP program, or there is the only way?
Is there any other way to enter besides what? I wasn't sure what you're referring to.
NUFYP program, Nazarbayev University Foundation Year program.
You can apply to go directly to the university. You can, if you're not in school or not in NIS or something like that, if you're not in niche, you can take an SAT test. Do you know the SAT? A lot of people call it SAT.
Yes, I know.
You can take that test and apply for direct entry. You can take our test, this Nazarbayev University entrance test, and you can apply for direct entry on that as long as your scores are high enough. You have to have higher scores on SAT and on the entrance tests. But if you do, you can apply. I can't guarantee what will happen because competition is there. And so they will be looking for the best students. But there are some scholarships available to international students. So it's possible.
So it's possible. So I have another question that is compared to the SAT question, SAT test. The Nazarbayev foundation year program test is more tough or is indulged in mathematics. So which one is comparatively easy to attend? SAT test or the Nazarbayev one-year foundation test?
Well, that question worries me a little bit, but I would say probably that the SAT test, remember SAT is written basically for Americans. So there's a lot more cultural questions in there, or it might have a cultural bias because it's written for American students. Whereas the entrance test for NU is written by Cambridge, especially for Kazakhstan, especially for NU. So we look at the questions and make sure that to the best of our abilities, that it's applicable to people here. You're not Kazakh. I don't know how much you've lived here or had the education here. So there's possibly a little bit of cultural bias towards Kazakhstan. But since the test is written mostly by British professors, I don't think that would be the case.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Поднимите руку, у кого есть вопросы.
Another question: how many students you are taking this year for the foundation?
Okay, in next year, in August of next year, we expect to have 550 state grants, and we are ready to take up to 50 people on a self-paying basis. The self-paying, you will possibly could get a scholarship, especially if you're in certain categories, you could get a fairly big scholarship. So all in all, we expect to have 600 or around 600 students, okay? It is competitive. Not everybody is going to get in, but it is, there's a possibility if you're a good student and your English sounds very good, I think you would be a good candidate to get in. Okay?
Sarmaldina Gulnaz.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Here's my question. What time period is more like appropriate for candidates to prepare? Like there are only 2 or 3 months left to prepare and pass this exam, as I guess. So is it possible for me to do this in such a short time period?
Well, yeah, I would think so, because you really can't do much to prepare for critical thinking and problem solving. That's something that you should be preparing for the last 11 years or 12 years or something like that, because I can't tell you, go memorize this, right? We're not looking for what you memorized. We're looking for how well you can think. So the best thing you can do probably is do a lot of reading, and it can be almost anything. Read some science articles, read the newspaper. The other thing would be to make sure you get a good night's sleep before you take the test. With the math skills, yeah, there are some things, maybe if you're not real strong in math, you look at what the questions might be or the topics can be and go back and review. You've probably already studied it. You just need to go back and review it. I'm not very strong on people who have to really cram. You know the word cram? Cram for a test? Do you know that?
Not really.
Okay, so to cram for the test means like, let's say I'm taking a history class and I'm supposed to read a chapter every week and I don't read it, and now the midterm is coming, the midterm exam, and so the night before I read 6 chapters. That's cramming. I'm trying to push it all into a very short time, and I cannot learn that way, really. That's one thing. The other thing is, you know, if you're trying to cram for it, you try to push it in and you forget it and you might learn wrong things, and it's not a good way to study. Just to study, look at what you should be studying right now. Just do a good job of that. And the best thing then is to read. The more you read in English, especially in English, it doesn't hurt to read in Russian or Kazakh either. But the more you read in English, you increase your vocabulary and your ability to write, actually. And if you're reading good articles, you'll be learning things. And all of that is important. I'll tell you, my older brother, many years ago now, he wanted to be a doctor and he took the test to become a doctor. And in that test, there was a question about a historical figure in Britain. And he had learned about that because he had bought a product that just happened to mention that guy, and because it was the name of the product. And he had a question, he had a correct answer. He'd never learned it in school, but just by learning every day, just by reading, he was able to answer that question. So it really is not so much that you study for the test, but you just continue to be in an attitude of always reading and always learning, okay? So you can be prepared in time.
Thank you for your answer.
You're welcome.
Жан, можете задать свой вопрос?
Hello, Robert. I have a couple of questions about the NUFYP tests.
Yeah.
The first is how many points I need to score to admission to the foundation program? I mean, to pass the NUFYP test. And the second is, will the tests take place like an online format or like a usual in offline format?
Right.
Thank you.
The number of, or the score that you need to get is a minimum of 120. And we require a minimum score of 50 in each one of the tests. So if you get a 50 and a 50, it's not going to be 120, obviously. So you have to have at least one of them, whether it's mathematics or critical thinking, you have to score fairly well, okay? So you can get 60 and 60 and you'll get your 120. But it's best to be higher than that, because there's been years where we have not been able to take everybody who has 120. Maybe it's down to 124, 27, 127, something like that. So, but the score to be eligible is 120. Okay, if you want direct entry, it'll have to be higher than that. Okay, and they require higher scores in each one of the tests as well. So that's the minimum score. And then you asked how it was going to be given.
Yeah.
We're not 100% sure yet, but we believe that we will use the NUFYP, the same company that is giving the UNT. And so you're familiar with NUFYP and taking the UNT or anything?
Yeah, I know about that. I
Okay.
understand, I guess.
So we expect to do that. We will do it in the same cities that we have done before. So it won't be in every NUFYP place, but it will be in the cities that we've gone to and given the test. If we can't do that, we will probably have to go back to a paper-based test, and we will go around and do it in the schools. But that's a problem. Doing it online from home is not a good solution. So we really hope that we can use this U-Study. So it will be online, but it will be in a room where there will be people watching and recording you, so that it's a fair test. I think last year there was a lot of people saying it was not fair, and we were not satisfied with it. And so we are trying to find another solution. Okay.
Okay, thank you for answering my question.
You're welcome.
Айгерим, можете задать свой вопрос?
I have last one question, that can you tell me that any changes, or can you tell me exact date of NUFYP test? Because my tutor said it might be changed to the January. Is it true? Can you sorry, can you tell me about this?
Oh, I'd like to meet your teacher who told you that. I don't know how they have more info. We haven't even decided yet, so I don't know how we can do that. Here's what we do know, that we expect it to be either mid-February or late February. I just got an email from Cambridge today who was asking if we could do it a little bit differently. So it's not been decided. We think we'll have to do it on 2 different weekends. But it would probably be middle February and late February, or maybe late February and early March. It will not be in January, but you will probably need to take your English test in January or maybe earlier. LinguaSkills is an online test. If you're not familiar with it, it's cheaper than IELTS, and you can take that in U-Study. We've talked to them, and they're going to, they've met with Cambridge. LinguaSkills is made by the same company that makes IELTS. And so it'll be an online test, and so you can take it with them. We will be working with them to pick some dates when you can take it. There'll be like a month period when you can take the test. You choose your day, and you can take it more than once. You will have to pay for it, and it's about, it'd probably be close to 40,000 tenge, I believe, but that's cheaper than IELTS by about half. So unfortunately, but I think it'll be a good test, and it'll be a good way, and you can take it more than once if you want to. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Нуртария, можете задать свой вопрос?
Hello, Robert.
Hello.
I want to ask you about the marking system of NUFYP University entrance test. Is there kind of fixed score for each question, or there's no such kind of thing?
People like to look at it that way, but there's a couple things. When Cambridge does it, we don't actually even score it. They score it, and they give us the results. So we're not involved in that, and it's by design, on a purpose. We don't want anybody to accuse anybody in Kazakhstan or anybody at the university of being unfair to somebody. But what they do is they look at the test and they mark it, and each question is worth the same. So people like to say, oh, it's worth 4 points, but it's not that simple. They use a lot of sophisticated assessment theory in what they're doing. But they also have test questions that they use as links that are not tested or not counted, because it compares it to other tests to make sure that the test has the equal value of difficulty. So every year we can say the test is just as hard as another year. So it's not like, oh, I took the test this year, it was easy and I got in, and next year it's hard and somebody didn't get in. The test will be the same. So it's more sophisticated than that. And I really can't get into it because it even goes beyond my understanding, but they do it for us because they are the experts in it. Okay.
Okay, thank you for your answer.
You're welcome. The point is, you want to get as many questions right as possible. You do that and you're doing well, okay?
Okay, I got it.
All right.
Айгерим, можете задать свой вопрос? Айгерим. Ернур, можете задать свой вопрос?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I'm an NS student and I'm prepared for IELTS now, IELTS exam. My IELTS exam is at the end of this month.
Okay.
And I think I have approximately 2 months to the NUFYP exam, and I have not ever seen this test. And do you think I can prepare for the NUFYP? And do you have some tips for me?
Well, it's like I was talking to the person before. I'm not very strong on people who really focus on preparing for a test. This test should test your ability to think, not to know things. So it doesn't matter you memorize. That's why I say the best way to study for this test is to do a lot of reading. Read widely. In other words, read something from a science magazine, read something from a humanities article, read something about the news. All of this, if you're doing that in English, you will be preparing yourself, okay? Now, mathematics is a little bit different because if you're not as strong in mathematics, you can look at the topics. On the website, there should be a sample test or sample test questions that you can look at and get an idea. The fact that you haven't seen this test before is exactly right. You should not have seen this test before because it's brand new. It's brand new every year. Every test every week is brand new, okay? Because we want it to be fair to everybody. So the questions are similar. The amount of work or the number of questions are the same. So it is a fair test, but it's not a test of what you know, but it's a test of how well you can think, okay? Except for maybe the mathematics, which will test your ability to be able to do whatever, maybe quadratic equations or be able to do some geometry or something like that, okay?
Okay, and you said that I should read more, and there will be the readings, the texts in this test.
No, I didn't say that because there'll be reading text. I said that because you learn to think. If you are reading and you're thinking about what you're reading, you're learning. And that's what we want, is we want you to be able to think. There are not long reading passages, but in problem solving, there are questions that will talk about some passage, and it will say, what is the author's main point? Or if this is true, and they give you a sentence, how does that agree with the author? Or how does that disagree with the author? So you do have to have a good reading ability, but I said to read because reading widely, I didn't say read more. I don't know how much you read right now, but you need to read widely so that you're familiar with other topics. One of the problems that a lot of places in secondary education is they have students focus on maybe just math and physics, or maybe just humanities, or maybe just chemistry, biology. What we're looking for in Nazarbayev University is somebody who knows something about all of those fields that isn't so narrow in their thinking, because solving the world's problems, which is what we want people that come to NU to do, is to graduate and go out into the government, go out into education, go out into business and solve problems. And that problem might be an environmental problem. It might be a governmental problem. And so we want students who have a background that they're capable of understanding questions that maybe they're not familiar with. If you're a mathematician, but you might end up needing to work with a chemist in an oil field, or maybe with an economist in the government, okay? So you need to understand problems that are not just a mathematical problem or not just an environmental problem. You have to have a wide bit of knowledge. And so to get that, you need to read widely. And what we do at the university is you don't choose your major right away. A lot of people come in and they say, oh, I want to be an engineer. I want to be an engineer. My mom wants me to be an engineer. But here you might find out, oh, I like this subject more than engineering. And it gives you a chance to explore other subjects. And so coming through NUFYP helps you do that. But even in the first year of undergraduate studies, most people, you do not declare your major. You have to wait till the end of the year or maybe your second year. And so we give you a lot of classes that help broaden your understanding of the world, okay? So that's what the university is doing and what it's about. So when I say read widely, it's to help you to know about things, but also to help you be a thinker in other areas. Remember I said I had a multidiscipline background. The subjects and the things that I studied in oceanography, you know, are not the same. They don't answer, they don't solve the problems in the same way that they might if they're looking at a linguist point of view, okay, or philology. So I have that kind of background because I've done a lot of studying in different areas, but we want you to have at least a little bit of knowledge. So read widely, think about what you're reading, and develop your thinking skills. That's the best way to be prepared for the test, okay?
Okay, thank you. And I have some extra question. And how I said, I am an NS student, and I've chosen the physics and ICT to study. And if in case I enter to the foundation, after foundation, I can choose any profession, yes?
Yeah,
for instance,
any major we have, you can choose. You can choose physics if you want to, but you can choose something else.
Can I be, for instance, medicine?
Yes, you can. You can. You have to have the grades. You have to, you have to apply for that, but you can.
Okay, but it will be difficult for me as I didn't learn biology. Yes.
Well, not necessarily, because one, if you come to NUFYP, they will help prepare you to get into the medical school. Not necessarily learning biology. That's not the key. What they will ask is how dedicated you are to that. But having a background in physics and mathematics, there's a lot of medical fields that require some bioengineering. So maybe you would be interested not in becoming a doctor or a nurse, but maybe becoming a researcher in the medical field. So you could still go to the School of Medicine, but you might end up using your physics, okay? So this is what we're looking at. The world is becoming complex and there's a lot of crossover. You have to have people who have that kind of knowledge. So yeah, you're welcome to do it. What I would say is come to NUFYP, go through, you'll get to hear about the School of Medicine and everybody else, and then you can make your choice what school you want to go to.
Okay, thank you. Foundation is a very flexible and comfortable program.
Yeah,
if you didn't,
I think so.
If you don't know who you want to be.
Right. It exactly, it works for that too. Yep. Okay, thanks.
Robert, we have a question about lingual skills. They're asking, can you make more details about it?
What I would suggest is you can look it up online and look at practice tests and all of that. Lingual skills is online, so you would go to UStudy and you would,
I think they're asking, is it officially approved that they can use it instead of other exams?
Yes.
Okay.
It was passed in academic council and it's part of the admissions rules now that you can take IELTS or you can take lingual skills and use it to apply both to direct and to NUFYP. Okay, you have to get certain scores, of course, but yes, you can. So they can look at the test online. The scores are in the admissions rules that they would need, but it's equivalent basically to the IELTS score of 6.
Гульнас, можете задать свой вопрос?
Hello again. I would like to clarify about the dates when the results of admission come. I had some information about this, as we have a bachelor's degree direct, and there are some differences between the coming of the results. So I'm very concerned about it, because I'm going to apply to direct and foundation both. So if the results of foundation will come like sooner than direct, and I will not be sure about the direct yet, so what way I have to act? So I don't really clear about this. Can you tell when the results of foundation will come, and usually when it come?
I can't actually, because we haven't set the dates for the test yet, and we have to have a contract with Cambridge about when they will get us the results. And there's always a problem. This problem is handled by the admissions department. It's not handled by us. I know that they're trying to do some things differently to make that a shorter time. But if you're not getting a bachelor's degree, you're getting a baccalaureate, right? There's two different things there. A bachelor's degree is a 4-year degree, your international baccalaureate. So what I know, that they come late, and that always is a problem. You can, I'm not sure how they work that, but if you took the entrance test, you can apply for both. And if the NUFYP offer comes to you, and it will probably come to you first, you will have to make a decision on whether you accept it or whether you want to wait. I don't know how much time they would give you for that, or how soon the other one would come. That question is best asked to the admissions department, okay? You can write to them or something like that, but they probably don't have a good answer yet. I would wait until next year sometime and then write to them. You won't have the results yet, so that there's not a rush. You don't have to make the decision at this moment. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I can't help you more than that, but it's really admissions question.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Талшин, можно вас вопрос задать?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. If I enroll on a paid basis, can I, if I study well, very well, transfer to a grant? Were there such cases?
I can't guarantee anything, but a lot of people who come on a paying basis are able to get a grant. Not everybody, perhaps, and it depends. It's not entirely based on the grades, I don't believe. If you were to pay all the way through NUFYP, there might be a grant for you entering into the direct entry. Some people are able to change to a grant even during NUFYP, but it depends on a number of factors, none of which we can really predict. But so far, I would say a lot of the people, maybe half of the people, maybe more than half, have been able to pick up a state grant sometime during NUFYP year. After that, it kind of depends, and I don't know what happens with them because they're not my students anymore, and I don't really follow the money part of it anyways. But if you want to come, you need to have the 120 in order to apply, or an SAT score. You need to be eligible. You can't just come because you have the money. You have to come because you have qualified. If you're highly qualified, you'll get a state grant. If you're a little bit below and still qualified, you can come as a fee-paying student. We welcome you, but it will be, I can't guarantee you'd get a grant, but you might, okay?
It's possible, yeah.
It's possible, yes. I don't know, but it is possible, and it has happened probably every year.
So, thank you for your answer.
Sure.
У меня небольшое объявление. Я сейчас в чате отправлю вам ссылку на Google форму. Вы можете заполнить ее. И после этого мероприятия мы разыграем 5 призов. Гульнас, можете задать свой вопрос? Гульнас.
Я забыла просто выключить, отпустить руку. А можете тогда рассказать, что за розыгрыш? Я немножко не поняла.
Мы просто будем разыгрывать giveaway, new branded merch. То есть там будут наши рюкзаки, худи, футболки, флешки. Вот можете поучаствовать. Миру Ярд, можете задать свой вопрос?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I would like to ask, what is the average result of students in IELTS NUFYP which can guarantee admission? For instance, I know that the minimum requirement from IELTS is 6.0, but I suppose that with 6.0, it's less likely to get into this university. So which band will be more, how to say, which kind of might guarantee?
Well, that's sort of true, but every year we have people that come in with a 6.0. What they do is they look at both scores. They look at the scores that you get in the entrance exam and in IELTS, and they're put together and you're ranked. Okay, so if your IELTS score is only 6.0, but you get a real high score in the entrance exam, that will move you up. So, and vice versa. If you don't do real well in the entrance exam, but you have a very high, maybe you have an 8 in an IELTS score, that will move you up. So the best thing is to get as high as you can in both, of course. But every year we have people who have 6.0. So it's not like you have to have a higher score. But I would say that I think the last time I checked, the average was something like 6.3. Every year we have people with 6.5 and 7, and I think even sometimes 7.5. But I would say the majority is between 6 and 6.5.
Is there, one of these tests are more prioritized, like NUFYP's more important than IELTS?
I'd have to go back and talk to admissions because they do the ranking of them. I know that I tell them in what order to take if there's a tie. We look at mathematics. If you both have 132 on the entrance test, they'll take the person with the higher math score and put them above the other one. And if you have the same scores, then they'll look at the IELTS score, and the one with the highest IELTS score goes high. If you have the same IELTS score, then we look at the writing score. So we do this, very carefully, but we're talking about, 2-3 people right in the same spot. It's not going to make that much of a difference usually. But yes, I don't know exactly how they do the ranking. But I would say it's both. We need somebody who has we need somebody with at least a 6. If you've got a 6, that's okay. Then get the highest score you can in the entrance test, and that'll, I don't say guarantee, but probably would make sure that you get a chance to come in.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Арсике, можете задать свой вопрос?
Hello, Robert.
Hi.
I would like to ask questions about NUYET. I'm preparing for SAT, and I would like to know what difference between them. Yeah, of course, if there are.
It's probably best to take a look at the website and read from ETS that makes the SAT test. To look at our website and the information that Cambridge has sent to us about our test. I know that they are sort of fundamentally made differently, but I would say the biggest difference is that our test is designed for Kazakh students. And so for that reason, they know they're going to be second language learners, okay? The English is not your native language. Where SAT is not designed that way. SAT is designed as an entrance test for basically for Americans, Canadians. It's used in a lot of different places, but that's what they really write it for. So there are some differences in there. And like I said before, there could be some cultural questions, not that they're asking cultural questions, but maybe they refer to something that you wouldn't necessarily know unless you were in or grown up in America or something like that. I think they try not to do that, but they're not as diligent as we are as far as creating a test. Our test is designed for Kazakh students, okay? I will say the critical thinking and problem solving is not necessarily a part of SAT, and it's a very important part for us because as I was telling some of the other the people in the meeting earlier, we're not looking to see how much you know about anything really, except for maybe mathematics. What we want to know is how well do you think? The critical thinking and problem solving test, you don't have to know anything outside of that test. Everything you need to know to solve that test is in it. Other than the basic knowledge, you have to have some mathematical skills, you have to have some knowledge of the world, but there is nothing that's going to say, what happened in 1492 in North America? They're not going to ask a question like that. We don't care. You can go look that up. But we want to ask you, well, they'll ask a question about how well you can think or how well you can solve a problem. I suppose I could throw this out there, Kanat, if we want to do another webinar, I can do a short one on talking about the test and some of the test questions. But for example, one of the test questions that I usually use is there's a question that says, you want to buy a ladder and it has to be long enough to reach up to your roof and short enough, fold up enough to go into your garage. And it gives you the numbers and all of that. And then it says you want to buy the cheapest ladder. So it's not a hard question, but you have to stop and think, is this going to be long enough? Is this going to fold up enough? And then you have to remember the question is not saying which one, but which is cheapest. So then you have to look at that. So it's those kind of questions that it's just, you have to be careful, you have to be detailed, and you have to think about it. And that's why the more you read, the more you think about what you read, the better prepared you will be. Okay?
Thanks for your answer.
You're welcome.
Шарипхан Алихан, можете задать свой вопрос?
Good evening, sir. Maybe someone asked before, but I came recently. I would like to ask what's better to read and what material we should to use to prepare for the test.
Yeah, just read. Basically, you can read anything as long as it's in English so that you're building your English vocabulary. You can read the newspaper, you can read a news magazine, you can get some kind of, if you have a capability of finding any kind of magazine or journal that talks about science, any kind, popular science or whatever, or about anything else. It doesn't really matter so much. You just need to read so that you can build your vocabulary. And if you're reading, you need to think about it. Critical thinking is, when you read the newspaper, what is the author's agenda? Because he has a bias. What is he saying? Is this true? Does he give evidence for this? What evidence does he give? Is that evidence good evidence? So those are the kind of things that you want to think about as you're reading. But what you're reading doesn't matter. You could even be reading some fiction books. You know, they would be helpful from the standpoint of hearing more English. In that case, even sort of a spoken English, although you're reading it. It would also help with vocabulary. So almost anything would be useful. Okay.
Okay, I understand. Thanks you so much.
You're welcome.
Жан, можно ваш вопрос?
Good evening. I forgot to ask the question before. It's about the NUFYP test. In the test, will each question have the same number of points? I just heard that the tough questions are graded in other points or scores.
I would say, well, I answered this to the best of my ability before. It's a sophisticated way of doing it. You can think of it as being all equal, but there are questions that you may not know, right? Every test should have questions you don't know. So the best thing to do is to skip them. Go to the ones that you know, answer those, and then go back if you need to spend more time on one or think about it longer or work it out. If it's a math question, it might be, oh, it's not coming to me right now, skip it. Do the other ones. Maybe I got 5 minutes at the end of the test, I go back and I can work on that one and think about it longer. But for practical purposes, they are equally valued, okay? And they're equally difficult. That's not true, because if you know it, it's easy. If you don't know it, it's hard. But it's not meant to be, this is an easy question and it gets harder and harder and harder. It could be some of the questions at the end are easier for you, maybe not. But the strategy for taking the test is, if you get to a question you don't know, skip it and come back to it. Okay, you can mark it, and you'll be able to mark it even on the online version and be able to go back and look at your questions. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Robert, I think this one will be the last question, and then we will proceed with giveaway, and we will tell them that we will have other webinars as well, where they can give their questions.
Okay.
Виктория, можете задать свой вопрос?
Hello again.
Hi.
I know that before NUFYP tested about other areas of science like physics and chemistry, but now they don't. Like, there is only critical thinking, mathematics. And can you guarantee that there will be the environment of the university will be like smart or clever? Are you sure about your testing system?
Absolutely. Look, who makes the test for us?
Cambridge.
Right. Who is one of the best, perhaps the best test maker in the world?
Perhaps Cambridge.
Yeah, I would say there's two people you could two organizations, either the Cambridge testing, which they have, or maybe ETS out of America, College Board. Those would be your two top ones. And many people would probably say Cambridge is the best. We have gone to the best. It's not cheap. University pays a lot of money for it, and they pay a lot of money for it to make sure we have the best test. So absolutely, the test is good. Critical thinking is what we want. Cambridge used to make the test for us with subjects, physics and chemistry, biology, and humanities. But we didn't want those, because we don't want students who think they're going to be in physics and then they come and they're not really what they want. What we want is people who can think, okay? So the critical thinking problem solving test is a better test to find the smartest kids. That's better for us. It's better for the university to get those kids than to get somebody who really, really knows physics, but they maybe can't do anything else. They might be good to go to a different kind of school and to, I'm not saying they're not smart, but what we're looking for are students who have a wider understanding of the world, a broader abilities, and are able to think and solve problems. That is extremely important to the university. We're looking for those kind of students. So that's why we make a test that is going to find those kind of students. Okay?
Okay, I think I have some chance.
Well, if you listen to what I said, you have a chance, I would think. Your English sounds good enough. It's what school do you go to right now?
It's not an NIS, so it's just a simple school.
That's fine.
I'm interested in English for about 5 years now, and I think the hard work is paying off. Yeah.
Right, and that's what we're looking for. Look, I tell this story, and someday I'm going to get caught. I have 2 kids. I have a son and I have a daughter. My son, I would say, is probably smarter than my daughter. But my daughter finished university, got her master's degree, has been teaching internationally. My son never finished school. And the reason he didn't is because my daughter works. She's smart, but she also works at it. My son, he likes to just enjoy life. And he didn't work at going to school. He's been successful, but not at school. And so this is if you know how to work, if you have good time management, if you have a good work ethic, we would want you as a student, because those kind of students will be successful. We'll teach you what you need to know, but we can't make you a good person, not very easily. That's done by your parents, that's done by your community. And so if you know how to work hard, and if you know how to apply yourself, you can come here and be successful. It doesn't matter if you go to NIS. They have some advantages perhaps because they have education more in English and some things like that. But you get the English score, if you've done your studies and you know how to work, you'll be a good student and you'll be successful. Okay?
Thank you for advice. I hope it will be really useful and helpful in my testing day. Thank you a lot.
If you come into NUFYP next year, I want you to come up and greet me and remind me that we had this conversation.
Well, definitely, I will. I hope.
Okay. Well, thank you all for participating and for staying here so long. I'll turn it back to Kanat, and I think we can probably have another webinar, maybe not so long, but one that would talk maybe specifically about the test. Maybe we can have one about writing motivational letters or application letters to universities. All right. So thank you all.
Мы продолжим тогда уже к giveaway. Я сейчас зашерю свой экран. Так. У нас было 43 респондента. Некоторые я удалил, потому что там были дубликаты. Я закрываю таблицу. Теперь вы не можете отправлять свои результаты. В общем, у нас получилось 39 участников. По имиджовке мы будем разыгрывать 1 рюкзак, 1 эко-пакет, 1 флешку, термокружку и простую кружку от NU. Будем использовать random.org. Здесь я прописываю максимальное количество, 39. Итак, первый номер это 14. Номер 14 у нас Аяру Ислямова. Так, следующее будем разыгрывать эко-пакет. 29 номер. Самина. Следующий победитель номер 18. Флешка. Гаухар. Тридцатый номер выигрывает термокружку. Гульнас. И последний номер 6. Кружка. Жанель. Всем спасибо за участие в нашем вебинаре. Можете также подписаться на наш Инстаграм. Там мы будем писать все новости о дальнейших вебинарах. И также мы в скором времени будем связываться с победителями и обговорим, как мы будем доставлять вам подарки. Всем спасибо, хорошего вечера, до свидания.